Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to your Gemini August 2022 reading and forecast. Hi, I'm Nigel Saint James, for those of you who are stopping by for the first time. And as the subscribers know, there are no advertisements in this content, so you'll be able to enjoy the experience. Now, speaking of experience, I've done a number of one-on-one clairvoyant readings for some of your Gemini sisters and brothers over the course of the last month. And if you would like to have a one-on-one clairvoyant reading with me, just check out the information that's in the description box. Now, let's see what there is in store for you. August, enjoying summer in the Northern Hemisphere, getting plenty of sunlight, vitamin D. In the Southern Hemisphere, of course, New Zealand, Australia, and South Africa, it's winter. Everyone's got their sweaters on. But let's see what there is in store for you now, shall we? And get 5 cards. Let's see, what's this first one? Compassion, number 20. Very interesting. This is the Devil. You devil, hello devil. I think you're going to quite enjoy the art on this, I might say. Look, all the decks I enjoy the art on, I must admit. There's the 6 of discs in this case. Let's have a look. A couple of major arcana and some earth around you. Let's see what this is. The 10 of Swords. This is an interesting card, particularly on that line, that diagonal line with the Devil. We'll see what it has to say in just a moment. And finally, the 7 of discs. The 6 and the 7 of discs in a triangle in a diagonal with compassion. Well, why don't you come now? Sit down here next to me. We'll have a good close look at the cards together while I do your reading for you. All right, now strap yourself in. There are some things we're going to talk about which are the difficulties involved in being human. And you're going to go through some transformation, and ultimately you have great success, and in particular material success. But there's some subject matter here, I think, which is coming up that we might want to talk about. Now let me see what this thing says. What does it say? Transcending judgment. Okay. Transcending judgment, is it? Well, when I look at this picture, this painting, the goddess of compassion takes the form of a willow tree. Now, trees are natural purifiers. She is purifying the rejecting attitudes and judgments that cause so much suffering and lock you into a state of separation. It is compassion that liberates the tormented souls that I can see in here. Can you see in here inside these rocks? There's people in there and also in there. Tormented souls stuck in the cages in the background there. Tormented. And the compassion will also soothe the torment in you. Now it spirals out. You can see there. From the heart in a universal embrace of that which is in need of healing. Now, I guess that those familiar with the numberings of major arcana, traditionally this card has been called Judgment in many decks, and the image is often depicted as the last judgment of the Christian tradition. But I want to move away from this context while staying true to what is perhaps its innermost core, the process of separating out sin. And by that, I mean that which is off the mark, that which is moving you away from your destiny so that you might return to the right path. Now, rather than push away and reject that which is off the mark, your lesson is to lovingly embrace it. To do this, you have to transcend judgment in the way you usually know it. You have to stop saying this is right and this is wrong. You know, that great English genius playwright Shakespeare, in his play Hamlet, in Act 2, Scene 2, said, "For there is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Well, the mind sees what is wrong with someone, while the heart, looking through the eye of love, sees what is right. It sees the other's basic goodness and how their cruel, distorted, or just inept behaviours are simply a product of their conditioning. Now, if you can put yourself in other people's shoes and really understand what they have been through, what influences have squeezed and hardened them, you will feel much more accepting. You will see how far they have come, rather than how far they fall short of the standards in your mind. One way to cultivate compassion, then, is to develop your capacity to see other people more clearly. Another powerful way is to see your own mind more clearly. If you watch carefully, you'll notice how judgments arise from defensiveness, disappointment, and from seeing only the surface of the situation and not the whole picture. Now, up on that same horizontal line is the devil. These two cards in this diagonal here, the energy here, the lesson here is the message to come through, which I'll get to in just a second, is pretty much the same. I'll get to the final message after this Ten of Swords, but let's look first at this, shall we? What's this saying? Separation from the source. Well, that's what the devil is, I suppose, isn't it? Now, look, the devil is often pictured as a single figure, but here it's depicted, I guess, in a more varied form. The devil is whatever separates you from the source. Do you understand what I mean by that? You can think of source as divinity or as your own true nature. Now, two general categories of experience obscure this truth. One consists of your shame, fear, doubt, and limited self-images, and the other includes the denied or demonized aspects of the personal and the collective unconscious. Now, it might be worthwhile taking some time to look at both of those things. Let's look at shame to start with, shall we? Shame is a major demon for many of us. Feelings of shame can become solid, almost like a kind of a wall or a boundary that leaves part of you feeling separate from the love that is your true nature and ground. It therefore separates you from the flow of love that is part of the universe and part of you. This can lead to feelings of hatred towards yourself, and sometimes even to violence. To get the devil of shame off your back, you have to stop being bullied by it and see that your feelings of shame reflect the rejecting attitudes and lack of love that you absorbed when you were vulnerable and open. Now, these survive only because you feel separate from your true nature. If you could see the real you, shame could not get a hold of you. It's very tough to deal with a demon like shame, but it can be even harder to wrestle with forces you can neither see nor identify. What you have pushed into the unconscious separates and operates outside of awareness, where it can exert a great deal of control over you. When the grip of unconscious elements, you don't know what the devil got into you or why you act the way you do. Now, shadow, I suppose, is a sensible term for these things because, like a physical shadow, it doesn't have any substance. These ghostly figures are only thought forms and feelings in your psyche. patterns of stuck energy that can be dissolved by approaching them with compassion and looking for the truth. Now, this guy in the painting here, let's have a look at him. He has fallen into the hell realms of his own psyche. He didn't go there by his own volition, and he is floundering. He is being attacked by demons, the contents of his underworld. These include guilt, shame, self-hatred, and any parts of himself that he has tried to deny in his conscious life. Grappling with these dark shadow elements becomes a path to the greater light. The way to increase the light is by transforming the darkness. Transforming darkness is thus important soul work. Now, rather than an enemy to resist, intense feelings are simply contents to understand. There is a message in all experience. To receive it, you must make friends with your experience. And when you can see that the demons are distortions that tell you where your consciousness needs to be freed and refined, you can take a more loving attitude towards them. The answer is not to reject the demons, but to hold them with compassion and let them melt back into the ground from which they came. And because you've drawn this card, it's an invitation for you now to confront your demons. What feelings or belief, self-images, or shadow elements creep in to undo the good feelings you work so hard for? Identify what separates you from your source and what you can do right now to strengthen your sense of connection with this source. And when this connection is strong and you feel held in a loving way, the torment, I can assure you, will drop away and fade into the mist. Now, I said there was a connection, didn't I, between these? Well, they're all connected, but this is called leaving the story. What does that mean, I wonder? Let's have a look. See what this might be here. Well, the best thing to do is start with the painting, I suppose. And in this painting, the layers of the canyon reflect the layers of your story and how deep it is. At the bottom is a core pattern that you are organized around. It is illuminated here by the light of awareness. Now, these ascending birds that we see, they're a symbol of leaving the pattern. The fact that they rise in a spiral reminds you that your work on your patterns is something you do again and again. It is easy to get discouraged by this and to forget that you are indeed moving forward. It helps to remember that this may be a pattern you've been living out for many lives, and that changing the pattern is a major part of your life's work. It's as if each time you identify with the story, you get sucked back down into an energy vortex, and each time you disidentify, you rise to a higher and freer perspective. Freedom is getting out of the canyon, out of the ruts of the mind that have obstructed the radical openness of your true nature. Now, the number 10, as you probably already know, is the beginning of a new pattern. Now, the 10 of Swords is about mental patterns, although you must remember that mental patterns can also involve feelings. Thoughts create feelings, and feelings themselves generally have an aspect to them that you think about. A feeling comes into focus within a particular context that gives it meaning. Thoughts, feelings, and self-images are the stuff of mental patterns. Now, to understand how you free yourself from patterns, you must understand how you get stuck in them. Patterns are like mental grooves. The more often your thoughts and feelings go down certain channels, the deeper those grooves become. You think the same old thoughts and have the same old feelings. The deepest of these complexes is sometimes referred to as your story, because you have to run this story again and again. It is not just a groove, it's more like a pit, a giant hole you can easily fall into. The further you fall into the pit, the harder it is to get out. Being aware of when a particular sequence first starts allows you to avoid automatically falling into the pattern and to find other options. And the pattern has ended when you no longer fall into the pit, but rather negotiate your way around it. This is liberation. You leave the story behind, realizing that it is just a story, just one of many possible ways to set out your experience. It helps you to step out of a pattern generated and maintained by the mind if you can step more fully into the present moment. Now, focusing on your body, and particularly the life force within your body, is one way to anchor yourself in the here and now. Presence supports what is, and whatever is false then falls away. Now, there's a particular message that's coming through in regards to these two cards here and the subject matter that we just discussed, or which came up, I suppose, and it is this, and this is coming from Spirit, and it is that despite what you may believe, you can disappoint people and still be good enough. You can make mistakes and still be capable and talented. You can let people down and still be worthwhile and deserving of love. Everybody has disappointed someone they care about. Everyone messes up, lets people down, makes mistakes. Not because we are inadequate or fundamentally stupid, but because we are imperfect and fundamentally human. And expecting anything different is just setting yourself up for failure, because nobody is perfect. Right, well then let's have a look at the 7 and then the 6 of discs and see what there is here. It's called Incubation, I see. Very good, I suppose. What could we make of this? Well, now in this painting here, you can see, look, you can see this bear. See this black bear? There's the head of it, and it goes around there, and the bear is hibernating, while two cubs. Here's the head of one of them, and here's the other one there. Two cubs grow in her belly. Now next to her, a sparkling path over a frozen pond spirals inward to a crescent moon. It's not the full moon with its illuminating light, but the dark moon. What is happening in the dark of consciousness where no one can see. I think that this signals that this is a time for you of just waiting for things. This success is coming to you. It's just wait for this success, and I'll get to the success in a second. All things need to gestate. They need to develop. And this is a time of incubation. Something is developing for you, but it is out of sight. Often you can become discouraged and restless in these situations, thinking that nothing is happening. But I can tell you that all around you now, things are moving. Something is happening. Something new is being formed in the dark reaches of consciousness, in the cocoon, the cave, the womb. Now, if I were a shaman, I'll leave it at that. This card refers to a descent into the underworld, the body of Earth, where we meet our animal guides. You may also experience it as a descent into your human body in a deeper way. Look at these bears here. Bears are often symbols of protection, and the state of incubation is one that needs safeguarding. So you must keep it free from interference and from your own restlessness and striving. To push something before it is ready is to risk a premature birth. Although a premature baby can be placed in an incubator to continue its development, you can't always return your projects or return your relationships into a protective womb. So it's best to wait until the gestation is ready. So because you've got this, something is incubating. That could be a creative project, a new development in a relationship, your work life, or some aspect of a situation that you have at hand. Perhaps what is incubating is part of you that is getting ready for the next unfoldment. Now be patient. Remember that things are changing, and even when you can't see them. There isn't much that you can do right now, but wait it out and protect the space, honoring the natural rhythm of things. Now, I talked about success, didn't I? And here is this web. See, this is coming as a result of this incubation, the web of life. Well, the web of life, indeed. It's all one big web, isn't it? Don't you think? Everything is connected. Very much the case. Well, I think what might help us here is to look at the astrology, and it is the moon ruling the second decan of Taurus, which is the 1st to the 10th of May. Now, the moon is exalted in Taurus, which is a great sign. But the moon's transient nature means that successes may be short-lived. Now, in this picture here, the spider has done a web, and what happens is the web doesn't fill up in one go, but rather an insect comes in, and that is a success. Then later, another insect comes in, and that is a success. And then again, another one comes in, and that is a success. So it's not a continuum, but successes will be coming to you in a number of different ways throughout the period that's here. The moon in Taurus, well, the moon likes nurturing and comfort, and Taurus as a fixed earth sign, it just loves material things. So those two together, the moon, nurturing, and Taurus, material stuff, are well suited for bringing about material success for you time. So there's external manifestation of the inner success and transformation for you. Generosity going both ways, paying it forward, maybe receiving something of a financial boost, I see here. You may well also have the opportunity to become involved in a profitable adventure. This is a reminder for you to remember the successes in your life and to build on those. Certainly there's now a desire for success, and what you should then do is be willing to risk, be committed, and trust your intuition. Be open to your success. It is no less than a gift you can learn to accept thankfully and humbly. Real success only comes once you have learned to serve. And success under these conditions enriches all levels of your being. So what does success mean for you at the moment? Visualize as precisely as possible what your success looks for. And say this to yourself: my acceptance of myself and my self-confidence, they are the keys to real success. Well, fascinating reading. Good job. That's the way it is for you this
Well,
month.
what a fascinating reading. I'm sure you will agree. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I enjoyed providing it to you. I really look forward to doing your reading each month, you know. I really do. Truly I do. And, you know, I send you some good energy, the subscribers, throughout the month, which you will feel from time to time. So don't worry, I'm always thinking of you. You are never alone. Now, until I see you again, remember one thing, and one thing is this, that you are a legend, and I look forward to seeing you again next month. And until then, it's bye for now.